next to that over here is the Achievement Hunter office. This is where Jeff and I sit, do all of our work. And yeah, it's everything Achievement Hunter related happens in this office right here.
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here?
I'm just saying, your hair looks like Jean-Ralphio. Your hair looks like Jean-Ralphio.
Welcome back to another week of questions on this week's episode of
Open House.
Were they all...
All right, here we
God,
go.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, God.
I look shit.
Good in the
Whoa! Holy shit, Jeff!
Hey, what's up?
Dude, Jeff looks like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
We might want to play Urban Chaos again someday. It's trying to... Bruce, no! Urban Chaos is the last of my...
Oh my god.
I just got hit in the face.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
He's not even blinking.
I mentioned who was on the podcast.
He may actually be dead right now.
Just because I actually knew he was going to be on it, so I announced the cast yesterday. And it was like, no.
To think about things, and your decision was
To move on.
There you go.
My decision was, so what I can say is initially I gave my notice to Rooster Teeth before the sabbatical. That was something.
I reached this decision to do this podcast and to have this brief conversation with you as I was driving to work today because I thought that there's about 50 people, 50 talented, hardworking people who woke up this morning and probably wanted nothing more than to go to work. And for those people who no longer have that option, it'd be fucking disrespectful for me not to come in and do my job. It existed in me because of an event that I've shared, and I've been kind of disingenuous with how I've shared it. I talk about, and I've had this conversation with most Rooster Teeth employees.
So before I get started into this video, I just want to take a brief moment to please remind you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment down below. I'm just getting it out of the way because frankly, I'm going to forget in about 2 minutes here because as soon as I get started on this topic, I'm probably not going to stop talking. So just like I said, wanted to get that out of the way. Rooster Teeth is a community. At least that's the impression that you're supposed to derive from their playful banter, integrated various YouTube channels, reliance on personality, and of course the fact that they made their fame creating the web series Red vs. Blue.
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here?
Upon making Red vs. Blue an internet success story that was really the first of its kind, Rooster Teeth seemed like it had no ceiling on its success. They had a wildly entertaining podcast called The Drunk Tank at the time.
Yeah, also the tsunami and all that actual news too.
Yeah, Mideast unrest.
But there's kind of like
reactor.
Yeah, there's kind of like this.
Achievement Hunter was born from the bosom of the infectious personalities of Jack Patillo and Jeff Ramsey.
Oh, from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He's got the sweatpants.
Michael looks like
gold chain. Yeah.
And Rooster Teeth shorts found success by collaborating with big up-and-coming channels like Slow Mo Guys.
The closet?
Why don't you let me take care of those for you?
Why don't you let him take care of those for you?
Okay.
The early 2000s for Rooster Teeth was sort of like a dream come true. Every week there was some new content and most of it was a banger. Hilarious, unique, and full of great references and personality. And then Achievement Hunter exploded by beginning a Let's Play series for various video games, starting classics like their Minecraft series, which is still going on to this very day. They brought on personalities like Michael Jones, who made the series Rage Quit, which is still an internet nostalgia sensation from the early 2000s. They brought on hysterical members like Ray Narvaez, Ryan Haywood, Gavin Free, and the occasional guest spot for some of their other Rooster Teeth employees like Joel Heyman. Combining all of these things for the early Rooster Teeth days, it really did feel like a place where everyone was friends and everyone knew each other. The spontaneity and charisma was so infectious and entertaining that even when there was an occasionally unintentional peek behind the proverbial creative curtain, you didn't really care. So what if a good part of the Let's Play series were staged? Who cares if the Rooster Teeth podcast slowly just turns into Bernie or Joel just bitching about the world and people? You felt like part of the team and part of the community even if you didn't possess any part of the company and you weren't paid by them. You felt like you were part of this creative family. And while everything seemed, all good, wholesome, and full of amazing moments, this reality was going to be somewhat short-lived for the community and several of those involved in the company. Even in the early days, Rooster Teeth was a part of Otter Media, and at the time it was a very small subsidiary of AT&T, which is in part a subsidiary of Warner Media, which of course is in part a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. Rooster Teeth was obviously pretty low on the radar at the time, happy and content to just continue making content and develop a stronger sense of community focus, and continuing their series like Red vs. Blue and their fledgling series at the time, Ruby. And speaking of which, back in 2013, Rooster Teeth launched a series called Ruby, an anime original series developed by Monty Oum that would soon become a massive success story for the company in a way that Red vs. Blue and Achievement Hunter just couldn't do. Ruby quickly became an integral part of the Rooster Teeth infrastructure, and the fans and community were ecstatic to see a new original series from a community that they loved so much. Then tragedy struck when Monty reacted badly to a medication while he was in surgery, and Monty sadly passed away in 2015, 2 short years after he created Ruby. He left the creative vision of Ruby up to different independents at Rooster Teeth, the majority of which was taken up by Miles Luna and Carrie Shawcross, his 2 main writers for the series. Carrie and Miles took on the torch pretty admirably, and while some people don't really care for the current direction of Ruby and haven't felt like it's been the same since Monty's death, still was a very successful anime series for the company, even if Ruby was suffering. But even though Ruby was suffering, Achievement Hunter and a new channel called Funhouse and the Rooster Teeth podcast were thriving. 2015 to 2018 was arguably the best years in terms of content that these groups came out with. Not even mentioning the smaller success of secondary channels and content creators that they brought on like The Know, On the Spot, or Always Open. Let's Play was in a phenomenal place. Their GTA, Minecraft, and more constant series were consistently hitting above 1 million views with each release. They were starting to get sponsored gameplays for upcoming games. They were branching out into more gimmick gameplays and bringing in a larger crew with members like Jeremy Dooley, Alfredo, Trevor Collins, and a revolving cast like before of other Rooster Teeth members. Let's Play, and subsequently Achievement Hunter, and subsequently Rooster Teeth, was really in the stratosphere around this time, even if 2015 was bookended by the leaving of Ray Narvaez, a moment that hit a lot of community members pretty hard. But they still trucked on and strived to make something of it, and really they succeeded. And working simultaneously out in Los Angeles, Funhouse was started by Rooster Teeth after the collapse of Inside Gaming. The group of close-knit friends in LA immediately made a name for themselves with an intensely improv and skit-style humor that was far more mature and witty than was found over in the Let's Play channel.
And now, battle on top.
Sir, would you like some soda?
No, I don't want any soda.
Funhouse solidified themselves as a little brother to Achievement Hunter, but a little brother who just so happened to be way funnier and far more charismatic than their older brother. And whereas Let's Play was mostly known for the personalities of Gavin, Ray, and Jeff, Funhouse was known for the whole group of people. Adam Kovic, James Willems, Bruce Green, Joel, Spool, Lawrence, Matt Peak, and the future members of Jacob, Elise, Alana, Omar, Dawn, Bones. Legitimately, the whole crew was endlessly engaging and hilarious to watch. They launched internet classics that still make the rounds today with series like Demo Disc, Dude Soup Podcast, Wheelhouse, Open House, all while still making gameplay videos. Combined, Achievement Hunter and Funhouse were a dynamic duo. Even if the two communities didn't always get along, they were a stronger team together, and the personalities engaged in them knew it better than anyone else. I mean, we've talked about a lot of the good, but now there's time to start talking about where Rooster Teeth and their subsidiaries started to find themselves on the opposite end of the various communities and failing to maintain their sense of cohesion and friendliness. Bernie Burns, another community favorite, steps down as the CEO of Rooster Teeth, handing the reins over to Matt Hollum, another founding member and the voice actor for the character of Sarge in Red vs. Blue. Most people didn't take this in any one particular way, rather just seeing it as Bernie being unwilling to continue taking the brunt of the work and wanting to refocus his efforts on his family, until he got engaged to another popular internet personality, Ashley Jenkins, known for her work on The Know as well as IGN. While these rumors were never fully substantiated, there was some tension under the surface after his divorce in 2011. But to be completely fair to Bernie, his divorce seems to have been amicable, and it's not our business to try and create a controversy around it as if there was something else going on. Fast forwarding to 2016, and Jeff Ramsey takes a long sabbatical away from Achievement Hunter, Struggling with his at the time alcoholism and long hours away from his daughter and wife, he just needed to get away. He was originally planning on leaving the company altogether, but apparently Matt Hullum convinced him to just take some time and decide afterwards, and this was where, in my opinion, the writing was beginning to be seen on the wall. There was a complete polar shift in the way that everyone talked, treated each other, and published content. Some of the content still seemed to be pretty solid, like I said before, but it was mostly from Funhouse, On the Spot, and the Rooster Teeth shorts. Even when Jeff came back and said he was here to stay, it felt like part of Rooster Teeth's soul was just dying out and left when Jeff took his sabbatical. And maybe it was slowly decaying already when Monty passed away, but 2016, even with the strong content, just had a completely different emotional feeling to it. In 2017, not much happened. The usual content released, the occasional drama, but hardly anything happened. But in 2018, things started to change drastically. In 2018, AT&T fully bought out Otter Media, which was then purchased by Warner Media. Rooster Teeth was no longer a small cog in a big machine, but rather they now had Warner Media money, which could help fund new shows, new ideas, and bring on a larger creative process. The only price of this new funding and infrastructure was the soul of Rooster Teeth. Almost immediately, there were changes to a lot of the content being made. Let's Play started watering down their profanity, the length of videos, and playing almost exclusively popular titles. Jeff turned the management of Achievement Hunter over to Trevor Collins and started taking a far less inclusive role in the videos. Most of the community assumed this was due to his at the time divorce to his wife, and that he was taking it far more emotionally, which no one blamed him, but even to this day he shows up pretty rarely. 2018 was a sign of things to come, but no one in the community was prepared for the absolute shit show that was going to be 2019, and what it was really going to be like for the company. 2019 started off relatively normal. The tone felt different due to the way that Jeff was feeling, and due to the knowledge that somewhere across the US and in Los Angeles, Bruce Green was taking a sabbatical from Funhouse. Something just felt off, and soon those fears were going to be realized in a rather big way. September of 2019 was a fuckfest of travesty and problematic practices and departures for the company at large. It began with Bruce Green formally announcing that he was leaving the Rooster Teeth family and striking out on his own as a content creator and wanting to focus more on building his own company as an entrepreneur rather than a cog in the Rooster Teeth machine. And while hearts were heavy to see him go and not be a constant part of the team, the community understood his desire to get away and do something for himself. No one can blame you or feel similarly in a position where you've been doing the same thing every day for 5 years straight. But as we alluded to before, this was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, whether Bruce left preemptively knowing what was about to go down or whether it was just solid timing, it doesn't really matter in the long run. See, 1 week after Bruce left Funhouse, Rooster Teeth announced a massive layoff to their workforce. 13% of their entire team was let go without warning, without notice. At first, people in the community assumed that this was planned, that this was 13% had already started working on other projects and that they were at different companies. That is until Jeff Ramsey came onto the Off Topic podcast and confirmed that the layoffs were not very measured and that the people had no idea that they were being let go.
There's nothing I can say that's going to make sense to you or that will be enough. There's about 50 people who woke up this morning and probably wanted nothing more than to go to work and to do their jobs.
Jeff's explanation made a lot of the community pretty damn unhappy, not towards Jeff as he no longer held a management role, but angry that these people were treated so haphazardly and so poorly. Barely a week after this took place, Bernie Burns stepped down as executive officer of the company and Matt Hullum stepped down as well, taking on far lesser roles in the community and focusing more on being producers rather than running operations. A move that can definitely be seen as either reactionary by Warner Media, or Bernie and Matt were receiving far too much heat for their actions of the layoffs and just wanted to be out of the public eye. Which again, totally understandable. Worth noting that prior to all of this in June, Matt Hullum actually issued a formal apology for the treatment of their crew on their animation sets and studios, acknowledging the rampant issues with crunch time, workplace abuse, and preying on the artists to further the careers of the higher-ups, and doing so at the expense of quality content. And it was around this time that several community members canceled their first memberships after Rooster Teeth instituted non-consumer friendly practices and partnered with morally questionable sponsors that promoted products that nobody wanted. In November and December of 2019, there were two last notable things that took place in the Achievement Hunter and Funhouse offices. Trevor Collins, the current manager and a new favorite of the Let's Play community, started receiving allegations from a former girlfriend, accusing him of abusing her and manipulating his current girlfriend, Barbara. There's something very important to note with this allegation, and it's both an indictment and an endorsement of Trevor Collins, depending entirely on your point of view. Now, the original claim was made by his girlfriend, Emily Fox. She failed to supply additional evidence like photos, videos, text messages, etc. I mean, hell, I can't even find her on Twitter or the original tweet where she accused him, no matter how hard I've searched for it on images, no matter how hard I've Googled it. I've even gone to Bing and asked Jeeves. There was no statement from Trevor, no statement from Barbara, no investigation from Warner Media or Rooster Teeth, and no comment from Achievement Hunter. The threads on Reddit have been reported and removed, so even finding links to evidence or the initial claims are difficult to even try to track down. But the last thing that should be noted is that both parties have been accused of being known for lying. Both Emily Fox and Trevor Collins, which if that's true, then anything short of physical evidence would only result in a witch hunt, which no one needs in 2020. And we haven't even gotten to 2020 yet, oh no. There was one last major bomb set to go off in 2019. Lawrence Sontag, the lovable weirdo of Funhouse who had taken over for Bruce Green after he parted ways, left Rooster Teeth barely 2 months after Bruce left, citing similar reasons that he wanted to focus on a different kind of commitment to himself and his own little community. And he's still very active on Twitch, his own personal YouTube and Twitter, and seems to be doing absolutely stellar. So we finished with 2019, now get ready for 2020. 2020 is a worldwide cacophony of bullshit and fucking ridiculousness on a level that most of us have never had to live through in our lives before. Rooster Teeth started facing accusations by former employees who lambasted the company for encouraging and implementing unpaid overtime, massive amounts of crunch time, an immensely toxic workplace that was ignored and at times encouraged by the higher-ups. Most of the community took this as former employees who were just holding a grudge, especially in light of the 13% layoff, but that was a very short-lived reaction, because in June, it was confirmed by several employees, including one Micah Burton, who confirmed that the workplace was insanely toxic and accused them of also being racist and sidelining people of color, despite hiring several people of color. She also went on a very long tirade against the community for endorsing racist comments towards her and other content creators, backed up by Jeff Ramsey confirming that Rooster Teeth has done a horrible job of inclusion and moderating toxicity in the workplace community. It was a shock, and it was a big shakeup at the company that prompted Bernie Burns to completely sever ties with Rooster Teeth and even left the country, saying that he'd still come back to work on content if offered, and Bernie was a massive fan favorite. Even on the podcast and in Red vs. Blue, his departure felt suspicious next to Warner Media, saying they'd have a pretty big shakeup to root out the toxicity. And then in September, Miles Luna announced that he was leaving too, stopping his work on Ruby and pursuing different creative ventures. And in October of 2020, we got some very disheartening news. Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic of Achievement Hunter and Funhouse respectively were accused by several community members of using their status as content creators for Rooster Teeth as a means to sleep with community members and cheat on their wives. Both of the men confirmed the allegations, prompting Rooster Teeth to remove them from the company and issue statements against their actions. We've already done 2 videos on what exactly happened over those 2 days where these allegations came out against Ryan and Adam. If you want to catch up on those and know exactly what happened, we went over them pretty concisely. So those are in the description down below as well as in the suggestions. So like I said, if you need to know what happened, that's over there. Now obviously that brings us full circle to today. Looking back at the history of Rooster Teeth paints a somber picture of decadence and community support that slowly degraded into a mound of growing mold. Somewhere underneath that mold is something special with a soul for community focus and a heart for making people laugh. When looking at the creative EKG of Rooster Teeth, there's 2 main conclusions that you can draw from the site. You can either see it as new life being pumped into a company that was founded during a very different time in the creative media process, a time that was far less PC friendly and by extension at times far less inclusive. Or you can see it as the inevitable flat line of a company that failed to continue capitalizing on the foundations and the creative process that made them famous in the first place. Whatever decision you come to, one thing is for sure. The Rooster Teeth that we grew up with, the dry banter of Ray and Jeff, the wheezing laugh of Bruce after a gimmick gameplay, the really wacky South Park shock value style humor of Red vs. Blue, the yelling of Bernie on the podcast when he gets pissed off at construction or technology, that's gone. You can still find it and trip through a nostalgia romp, but there's no denying that Rooster Teeth has changed. Admittedly, some of the changes are for the better, and others, not so much. So I hope you enjoyed this video of looking back at the history of Rooster Teeth and where we believe that they started to go wrong. Granted, this was a little bit more freeform. I'm basically now recording more with just notes and trying not to do it based off of a script. I don't think I do very well reading off of a script, and I like to kind of just talk from the heart. The fact is with Rooster Teeth, when it comes down to it, is that, as I said, I feel that the writing was on the wall around the time where Jeff started to take a much more distant role, because Jeff really does kind of feel like he was the heart and soul of Rooster Teeth. Now, granted, he's still there, which I think is a big reason why people still tune into their content, or that they feel like they've invested into it, but I feel like with all the new revelations, it's only going to be a matter of time before Jeff just throws in the hat and says that he's done too. I hope that that day is very far away, because the only times that I ever tune back into Let's Play and Achievement Hunter is to see Jeff. I don't really care that anybody else does anything. I hope and I pray that they end up changing some things for the better, and that things get better for Rooster Teeth as a whole, but ever since 2016, I cannot shake the feeling that Rooster Teeth has just been in a bad place, and that they've been trying to get into a good place, but they've been making just so many bad decisions along the way and doing such a poor job of rooting out their workplace toxicity that it's kind of hard to feel bad for them. But whatever the case may be, if they ever do get better, if they ever do fix things, if they ever do become a better community and a refocus on their consumers and a better integration of workplace policies that root out this toxicity at its roots, then we'll come back and watch them. But until then, kind of hard to keep watching their content. So like I said at the beginning, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave us a comment down below and let us know what you think of Rooster Teeth as a whole. Did you like them better when they were old? Do you like them better now that they're new? Do you like them at all? Do you even watch any of their content? Be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. It definitely helps us out as we try to build this YouTube channel of ours. And we will talk to you next time.